We'll get into it, folks. We've got we're live. We're just waiting for everyone to join on board and say hello. If we're not being censored before we even start today, we've got someone online now, but just wait.
Probably Wayne. No?
Possibly. There's a few. If you can hear us, you can see us. Smash up a like, leave us a comment, and we will get straight into tonight's.
And we'll tell you what no one else is going to be telling you.
In a way that no one else would say, yeah? Yeah. So, cool. We're being seen here. Hi, Chad. Hope you're doing well. Hope you're having a good week. So, let's get into tonight's live. It feels like there's a very few amount of people. I know we're not being streamed over on the Be Decentralized page.
Maybe they've been deleted off Facebook.
maybe they've been deleted. Possibly. Anyway, let's get into what's this block keywords there? There we go.
They're going up.
Going up. Got a like. Let's get into it. Let's see what everyone has to
look at the charts.
The charts. Let's get into the charts, right?
Minimum wages.
I've got some charts here. I'm going to share with you tonight some charts, and I'm going to walk my way through it. So I found this chart pack the other day. It was on some article. It had a few different types of charts. And I want us to have a look at it because people keep asking me about interest rates. People keep the Matrix fighting back. Yeah, I don't know. Somehow it's not sharing to as many people today. So I think that we might need to get us onto the Be Decentralized page as well, and everyone needs to turn their notifications on. But anyway, found this chart pack. I'm going to go through it. This one here is the real wages growth, right? So it's the real average earnings per hour, and we could see that it peaked in 2019, right? A few other things happened in 2019, but let's not go there. But we've got a massive decline in the wage price index, which is interesting, right? Rentflation is this is my favorite one, right? This is one of my favorite ones. So this chart here is called rent inflation. I called it rentflation. Rentflation, right? Rentflation. And this one here is my favorite one, right? And I always tell people I quit my job in the middle of the GFC. I feel like it's a bit of a weird video because like it's got Jeremy there, but it's got not me. It just looks like my voice and Jeremy, right? But anyway,
but that's what they want to hear, Nathan. They want to hear you.
True. I wish I had like a ruler or something here because this is really cool to share, right? So here, if we have a look, these are the years. This is the percentage of rent growth here. If we look back in the 1990s, there was no growth, and as they've turned these money printers on, they've printed more money each and every time. There's more and more growth that's happening. So we had the 99 and the dot-com bust, and then we had the GFC, right? What happened to GFC? Interest rates rose. As the interest rates rose here, the rents increased as well. So the rents were impacted because of that. We had the GFC that occurred, and then the rents didn't rise at the same level, but it set the stage, right? What happened in 2009, 2010? Interest rates fell, so rents didn't increase at the same level, but they didn't go negative, right? The only time in the history of the last 30 years the rents have gone in decline was the first part of 2020, entering into 2021, which was a blip anyway. Things have gone crazier since then. So we're now seeing rents at the highest growth in history, right? And we're at the same sort of level as 2008, which is when the GFC was on. So there's a lot of eerily similar things that are occurring right now that has happened, since 2008, which here we are, which is very, very exciting. So that is exciting for me. People asking what's going to happen with interest rates and all that sort of stuff. It's scary out there, right? And they only have a few bullets left in this gun.
Probably one more bullet for rent rise, and then
the interest rates have got to come down, right? Everything's dead. This one here is the household spending per capita and the sediment. We've got here is 1996. It's been getting really bad over the years. So we've got the GFC, it went down. Then we had Corona, it went down. So here's the baseline here, right? If it goes under here, we're in a recession, right? What happened here with the GFC? They had to increase lower interest rates to boost things up. We had it come down here. We had interest rates drop all the way through until here. We had all the stimulus packages here to get ourselves out of here. We are at almost the worst part since the GFC right now.
And the GFC, that was 12, that's 15 years ago.
Who wishes they bought a property in 2008?
I did.
But who wishes that they did? I wish I bought more, right?
Yeah.
And people are sitting
Wish
there
I'd
going,
sold.
wish I,
Exactly.
exactly.
I wish I'd never sold.
No one's ever called us up and said, "Oh, Birchie, I'm so glad I sold." How many people have you heard over the last 5 years, 7 years?
None.
No one calls up and says,
No.
"I'm happy I sold a property." Like, I wish I bought more.
No, the only ones that say they're happy to sell are the ones that can sell it to be in order to buy more.
Correct.
They sell one to buy 3.
Yeah. So here we are looking at more stats, boring stuff here, but it's exciting. So this one here is Australian final demand. So if we look here, whenever it's got under this, we're in a recession, GFC, recession, started a recession, we had to drop rates further. We dropped rates all the way down to 0. We picked up, we had no levers to pull, right? So in 2019, the interest rates were 0, there was nothing that they could do. It fell off a cliff. We gave them everything, went back up. Then it's like, hang on a second, it's going too high up. We need to stop this from occurring. So they've tried to take the foot off the accelerator. They've taken their foot off the accelerator and put on the brake, and here we are back at recession time. So these are all the leading indicators. We are in a really, really bad recession right now. And I'm finding it great. Like, I've got a great life, and you know, our community is doing great and all that sort of stuff. But there's a lot of people that are struggling out there. And you know, something has to give, and when that gives, that's where the exciting part is, because we've seen inflation and. Yeah.
But it's the housing crisis and bringing in 400,000 people in a year. That's a 2.2% percentage increase every year, and it's not being reflected in
600
this year.
650,000.
And it's all the demands in Victoria that they're demanding 60,000 new dwellings. Which, how are they going to build that?
They can't build them.
How can
they can't build them. Here's the real household disposable income per capita. This is from Macro Business. This is where all these charts come from. They haven't been provided from me and Jeremy drawing them on the whiteboard. Here's 1999. So this is disposable income that a household has had. Since 1999, we've had GFC, no problem. September 11, no problem. GFC, well, we had a little up and down. If you actually have a look at this one here, which is where we're at right now, the last couple of years, it looks very similar. It looks like a cat head.
Kosciuszko.
Batman, right? Batman, right? And here we are with the extra household income, because we've just been printing it, right? And we had a big splurge that occurred here, and they're trying to take it off, but it's fallen off a cliff. So this is... this is very interesting and exciting.
But it's the only arrow they got in the quiver is printing more money.
Was it, sorry?
It's the only arrow they got in the quiver is to print more money.
Exactly. Here we go. Lisa said she's watching a current affair which is on TV right now. Thanks for putting us on with the current affair. It's good. It's good to have two different sides of the story. Saying how much the landlords are ripping off the tenants. Her rent has gone up from $640 to $840 per week. I've got the greatest thing out there. I know I'm being streamed to the Blink property page here right now, and there could be tenants on there, and they could be like, "Who's this crazy guy? Fucking let's put him on a current affair for being so funny about things." But if someone wants to lock in their rental, right, there's a possibility to do that, right? So your rent doesn't go up, right?
For a year.
No, forever, right? You could go and buy a property and put a fixed mortgage rate on, and then your rent's not going to go up because you're paying the same payment. But if you're not, well, then you're in the market, and you're in that market, so you have to deal with it, right? And just as landlords are out there at the moment, and they have to deal with the fact that interest rates are going up and all that sort of stuff, it's just a part of the cycle. So it is just a part of the time. here's something to back up just what I was saying there. It's a little bit of a funny one, this one. Labor's shared equity housing scheme, one step closer with new laws set to be introduced to Parliament.
Oh, this is when they come in as a co-owner of your house.
Co-owner of it, you'll own nothing and be happy. Right? So let's read the terms of it, just for those that have forgotten about it. It goes, further assistance to lower middle income home buyers is on the horizon with the introduction of legalisation of Parliament, which if passed will result in the federal government taking an equity stake of up to 40% in new or existing homes, promised by the federal Labor ahead of the 2022 federal election. Home buyers under the Help to Buy scheme, always love when it's a scheme, right? You could literally change it to be a scam, right?
Easily.
Yeah. Promised by federal Labor, purchase a new dwelling, the government provided up to 40% and 30% for an existing dwelling. So it is eat the bugs, right? It's we're now seeing the government going, you halves in a halves in a property. So if you are a tenant, you're watching this going, fuck, I can't get out of the rental race. There's an opportunity for a tenant to be able to get themselves out of the rental place. So there's actually surprises in there for everybody.
And it's funny how it's 60-40, which is exactly what, if you go and sell paintings through a gallery, that's exactly the same. They take 40%, you get 60%, and they take 40%. Every single, it's the standard fee when you're buying a painting from a gallery. Yeah.
There we go. Well, we should know that, Jeremy. Like, we've got some questions to ask, right? And you sent me a text the other day, and I haven't seen you since. So high five about your big news that you've had.
Yes.
Dr. Jeremy Johnson.
By March next year, officially a doctor, but yeah, got the thumbs up from the assessors. Yeah, so happy days.
Jeremy's a doctor, right?
But I can't prescribe any pills. So it's 200
That's
an
a good
hour.
thing. You're a very good doctor because you're not out there, spreading venom.
Spreading venom and having the pharmaceuticals knocking on my door.
Correct.
Give this to your patients and see what it does to them.
Correct. We're prescribing good medicine.
We're prescribing good medicine.
People
for the
can
bottom line.
reach the heights of their life
and
by living life what they want.
On their terms.
It's on their terms.
Yes, and out of the cesspool of government dependency. Well, that's what it is. We're still living under common law.
I've got a couple of more articles to share with everyone, but I know that we've got a lot more viewers popping on now. I want to introduce a good friend here today, Dr. Jeremy Johnson.
Dr. Johnson. Not officially, but close enough.
Let's just call you that, right?
Dr. Johnson.
Eat the bugs. Jeremy, what do you do here at B.Invested?
Well, what I do is I help people build their portfolios through Nathan. I look after the clients. I make sure that they reach their goals and that when they call in, that they get the best possible attention in order to get out of their 9-to-5 jobs and build their portfolios. And it's funny because we were talking the other day, this is not really busy. If you want to buy 1 or 2 investment properties, right, and you want to get them below market value and just be happy with just a couple, we're probably not we can do it, but what we're about is building you a huge portfolio because it's all in the sequencing and there's very few people that can actually do it. Nathan is about the only person I know that can actually sequence a portfolio of 15 to 20 properties for you and
in
do
2023.
It in 2023. No one, it's too difficult otherwise. To actually, you can't do it yourself, and you've got to have the right financial structure in place. And you've got to have the right attitude in order to do it.
So when someone clicks the link on the top of the screen in the caption or whatever, they get booked in for chats with the team, and Jeremy's part of the team.
Part of the team. It's 7 of us now. I think it's gone up to 7, hasn't it?
I think it's more than that because you got like the 5, 6, and then you got a couple other people.
Yeah, we've got support. We've got the support team now who are all going to become, investor relations in the next couple of months, I imagine.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a great team of people. I mean, everyone works the same way. Everyone's got their own individual style to they relate to, but everyone is just there to work for the client.
And you said about the journey of you helping people, right? Like one thing that I do know is the love and attention that you have for your clients. Like you will literally hold their hand and take them through, the ups and downs.
Because it's why you're coming to us. I compare it as like, if you go on realestate.com, it's like a giant dog pound where there's 1 bone and 100 dogs fighting over it, okay? What we do is we look for the best bones, take them out of the dog pound and put them in and just give them to a couple of people. Here, this is the right bone for you. So you're not fighting over it. You know what I mean?
And then if there's not enough bones, the dogs will just eat themselves.
They'll just eat themselves.
Yeah.
And that's it. And at the moment, there's not a lot of bones out there. I mean, seriously, we are losing a lot of properties simply to outside buyers.
I
That's how
reckon
hot the market is.
two-thirds. Like when we buy a property, we locate it and we secure it, and then we sign a contract on it. We pay the deposit on it,
Yes.
and then by the time we do that, like we might get a property at 10 o'clock in the morning, at 2 o'clock, 12 o'clock we present it. 1 o'clock the person says yes. We send the contract at 2 o'clock. They send it back by 3 o'clock with the deposit paid, and then in that time, someone else is paying another 10 grand on top.
On top of it as well, and they've lost it. Or it even, they've signed it, or even before they've even signed it, the property, we find it's already gone.
Well,
and so we have to present them another property.
I literally just did that with one of your clients, young guy, tradie, Melbourne, one of your favourite clients. He's, I just had that happen to him bizarre, but 270 at a deal, went to 300 grand, 30 grand over, 10% more. I don't know, get the fuck out of here. And I've got another one at 260, always the same, but it's. Yeah.
Well, yeah, and this is the thing. They go, I'd pay for it. So it's not worth it.
Yeah.
That's what you were going to take. That 40 grand is what you were going to take in equity from the property.
Yeah.
So,
tell us. First question we had. I've got a few questions for Jeremy. We'll get back to the articles and we'll get on to a topic of discussion tonight about the impact of rising migration and people going to regionals. But tell the audience something that they may not know about you.
Well, now they know that I'm a doctor. Well, that I was doing working full-time here and doing full-time doctorate at University of Sydney, and managed to get it at the same time. So, I mean that.
And you do a lot.
That was. I think that was a pretty good go at that.
Yeah. And your knowledge, Jeremy, like you've got a very vast.
Yeah, but I'm also older. I'm also older than everyone. And with
he's older than everyone.
He's 94. 97, mate.
97.
Fuck's sake.
No, that's all right. You can say that. That's all right.
Oh, right,
one of the words that you can't say, Jeremy.
I've got so many words here that I think you do not bring up this word.
No, Jeremy. Don't read them. No, he's good. You that too, right? Like people are very surprised when they say, "Wow, Jeremy's really that old." Like it's like you've got a lot of worldly experience.
I've seen a lot. Well, I lived in Texas for a long time, and I've lived all over the country, so I know Australia well because my mum's from Queensland. I've lived up there, lived in all parts of Sydney.
You said you just went on a trip to like England,
and I got out. Literally, was in Cairo. So I was in Cairo for a week, and as the plane was taking off the runway, a certain number of unmentionable people were breaking out of their prison and heading into Israel, and has now caused the global catastrophe that we're seeing unfolding before. So I was glad to be, and then into London, where my family, they all live in London. They've assured me because I got a cousin who works at, believe it or not, the Rothschild Bank, and told me that the American dollar is safe for the next 100 years.
There we go.
There we go. I don't know how much he actually believes it himself.
He's the script. He's read the script.
He's read the script. You follow the script if you want to work with that family. That's for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. And you want to keep your life.
You want to keep your life. You want to keep alive, and your lifestyle as well. Yeah. So that was good.
Big changes like.
But this is the best hemisphere to be in right now. Australia, we are changing like we've never changed before ever. What has happened for the last 200 years is all finished. We're now moving into a new era, and we've got to start taking responsibility. We're going to play a much bigger picture in the world picture down the line, and that's one of the reasons we're bringing in so many immigrants into this country.
Yeah.
And we do need infrastructure really badly. But it's so expensive to build. So at the moment, everything that is existing, doesn't matter where it is.
Great for hyperinflation.
It's great for hyperinflation. But, the more self-sufficient you can be, but the more you can sort of like latch onto the existing infrastructure that there is, the better you're going to be down the line.
Yeah. Cool. I've got a question there from Jimmy. I'll answer that shortly. Let's get a prediction when interest rates will start coming down. I'll keep everyone in a bit of suspense for that. On that front, I just remembered of a Twitter link that I had sent to me, which I'll share with everyone in a little moment as well. So you said that we're going through a new phase. We're very primed for Agenda 2030 here. We're sitting duck. they do the nice cleanse. There's less people to fight over certain things. Have taken their gardeners have taken a lot of rights from people.
Yes.
We're easy to install a new agenda to. What are some of the things that you see, happening, and the biggest opportunities out of that? Because with pain becomes opportunity. And I've been saying it for a very,
Look, this whole move towards a cashless society, I do not think will come to fruition.
Okay.
Quite the way that they think. They would love to implement this, but I think in Australia we are very fortunate in this. We've got this huge country, an enormous landmass, with a very small population. I think you are going to see a huge diaspora, and we're already seeing that moving into regional Australia. And with the infrastructure that's going on, especially with the mining boom, I mean, we are, whether we like it or not, we're China's quarry. We've got these huge resources. We've got more gold than anyone can ever imagine in this country.
That actually takes me on to a couple other things, Jeremy. So this here is Chris Bowen who's one of the commies. This guy, you've seen him before. You would have seen him. He's like one of the Labor guys. He's
is he? He's a politician.
Politician, yeah. So I'm just going to play this to you. I think he's like the energy minister or something nowadays. Yeah, he was like a Kevin Rudd shill back in the day.
And they're coming up with bright ideas on the other side of the election. Point one, no credibility. Point two, nuclear is the most expensive form of energy. We have a cost of living crisis, energy prices go through the roof, and what's their big bright idea? They say, let's have the most expensive form of energy we can possibly think of. Let's come up with the most expensive form of energy and let's put that in the system because that's going to make power prices cheaper. They want that debate. They really want to argue that. Bring it on. It's just a complete joke. And they're coming up with bright ideas on the other side.
So that's a federal prime minister, energy minister. I think he's the energy minister.
Is he in the current government?
In the current government.
And it's Labor now, isn't it?
Labor, yeah.
They changed SIM cards, didn't they?
Yes, they changed SIM cards on that. So now we're looking at like this green energy thing, and I said from day one, the infrastructure that's out there, the pressure that's on there, they cannot roll out this green energy infrastructure, right? There's going to be a massive. My view on it is that they're trying to paper and hide the inflation that's there, right? So they're putting all these like Ponzi schemes of green, solar, build this, build that, build the next thing, trying to inject liquidity in the system. But the reality of it is that they can't even get there quick enough to make any of this happen. They have to stick to coal, and we've got all commodities at the highest prices and whatnot.
You can't get away from that. It's the cheapest thing there is, but so much of it.
Correct. And it goes to show, this is from Australian Financial Review. Stephen from your team, Stephen Bambury, he brought this up and sent it in the group earlier, right? And here's the top 10 CFOs on the Financial Review. So when we go into them, where are we here? First one, Whitehaven Coal. Liners, Rare Earth. Yancoal, Australia. Mineral Resources. Pro Medicus, I'm assuming that's a medical one.
Clayton Hatch.
Yeah. Nick Oldfield from Computershare, which is like a net registry or something for that. So there's two that are not there. Origin Energy, WiseTech Global, no. Car Sales, no. And then the last one, I don't know what it is. So at least half of the best company CEOs out there that have had the largest growth of their markets that have gone up. So the change in the last year has been 482%, 158%, 146%, 139%. The largest growth that we've seen in the financial markets have come from the commodity sector because commodity prices are rising amazingly, and
we've got a lot of them.
And we've bought all the infrastructure at cents in the dollar. Right? Everyone's fucking scared about Corona or whatever they're going to tell us is the next thing that they want to blame us on, blame anything on. We're out there picking up the assets for cents in the dollar, like stuff that used to sell for 500 grand for 40 grand. Like, I was looking at someone's portfolio the other day, and I had a property I bought them in Gladstone for 60 grand, 55 grand.
How long ago was that?
Well, 2 years ago.
Yes, that's right.
3 years ago.
So 3 years ago.
A few years ago. So, these things, we were buying stuff at cents in the dollar, right? And we've gone to these markets, whether it be, you just told me one of our clients that bought on the Gold Coast, they bought there 2 years ago. 2 years ago, what did they pay?
They put 200,000,
And what did they do? They just
340.
They just sold it, made 140k, and made like 70% return in 2 years. And that market was shit before. They go, oh, there's, who wants to buy there? And we're in those.
And they
funds.
pulled out 400k in the
Yeah,
other properties that they bought.
Yeah,
On top of that,
and they're looking to buy a block of units today.
happy days.
Happy days. So on that note, when we look at housing, right? Like I see, we've got here. Jimmy has asked, let's get a prediction. When will interest rates start to fall?
When do you think?
I'll give my thoughts on that.
60th.
You happy 60th?
Oh, if only I could go back to 60.
Look at him, right? Fucking full head of hair, nice and brown. I've got more grey than you, Jeremy. So
No, but you tinted. I thought you spent hours at the barber and getting tips done. Is that real?
Yes, thank you, Jeremy. Thank you. Yes, I put the little tips on my hair, right? So that's what's going on here. Lisa said the RBA announced today highly unlikely the rate rise in December as people aren't coping. Exactly. All this data that I was sharing beforehand.
They usually don't do it in December and January.
They do.
They give you
They
Christmas.
do. No, they do. They do.
Well, interest rate rises.
Yeah. All these charts that I'm sharing with you guys, it's signaling, like I'm excited by it. Do you remember when I talked about in 2017 the global financial depression, right, the GFD? Everyone said, you're off your head, Birchie. You don't make sense. Stick in your own lane. Talk about property. Don't talk about economics. You don't know what you're talking about. Hyperinflation's not a thing. Interest rates won't go to 0%. You're off your head, blah, blah. And I looked at the stats and they go, why would you be so... And they said I was off my head. They used to say I was on drugs and all these different things because I was excited by the fact of a recession, right? A recession in itself isn't good for a lot of people, right? But neither is inflation, right? People would have thought, oh, my house doubled, it must be good. No, your house doubled, but your grocery bill tripled, right? Who cares about your house when you can't afford to eat? So these things have a play-on effect, and we need to know how it works. If you want to be a billionaire, you need to know how that $1 billion works to be able to bring it into your life and bring it into existence.
Know exactly what assets are going to be growing, what's in the past,
Yeah,
and what's not working anymore.
we're in a market today where we're seeing, the levers are being pushed to the extreme. If you ask my view, I said at the start of this year, interest rates, so there's a few things that I've said very clearly from way back, and I will say it again today. So I said interest rates can't sustainably go over a 0.5% increase, right? That was right back at it. I didn't say they won't, I said that they can't support, right? Watch all my old videos. Everyone said, you said that they won't go over that. I said they can't, right? It doesn't mean that they won't do it. They just can't put it over there. If they do, it's going to blow the system up. So over the last 12, 18 months, they've blown the system up. My prediction would have been before the end of financial year, we would have seen a reversal in monetary policy, which it hasn't happened, right? But a couple of things transpired. We never saw a further increase since the end of financial year, right? Until last week, right? We've seen more banks go bankrupt in 2023 than they did in 2008, right? Interesting says, but we're not in a recession, right? We're really in a depression, but no one's talked about it. It's an inflationary depression, not a deflationary.
But it's not the unemployment. We are the opposite with unemployment. We've got too few people for the amount of jobs that are needed out there.
Which is going to create more inflation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You don't have people to pick fruit in the Riverina.
Exactly,
You know what I mean?
right?
We've got... I think maybe that's why they're bringing a large number of immigrants, simply
That's right.
because we've got to have a body of people doing work that no one wants to work. If you want to work in Australia, you can become rich. It's the one country in the world where there's nothing to stop. If you want to work, there's plenty of work for people to do. And I don't mean low-paid jobs. I mean, seriously, if you want to work hard, there's probably no country in the world that's going to give you the opportunity like Australia right now.
We see people's financials every day. We see what people are earning, the jobs that they do. There's lots of opportunities that are out there. People say, oh, you can't do it, whatever. You're just not looking hard enough. You don't have the mental capacity to see it.
If you're watching television, you're going to really be on the back foot. It is the biggest weapon that has ever been created.
I know
Bigger than
Lisa
nuclear
said she's
bomb.
watching a current affair.
You're watching current affair, but she's
the number
really
one-
watching this one.
She's the number one viewer of Birch feed, right? She's
Yes.
the number one viewer in there, right? But it's
But
she
Lisa
knows-
listens to you more than she listens to current affair.
Exactly,
She just wants to know
exactly.
what's going on.
Exactly. What's the next
Yeah.
agenda, right? But looking at it, I forget where I was going with that. I forget what I was saying. What did I say before that, Jeremy?
We were looking at how the immigration was going to affect.
No, I was saying something else just before that.
We jump around
I
a
was
lot.
talking. Yeah, we do. I was talking about the interest rates.
Interest
right?
rate, when's
So-
it going to go down? This
so-
is the original question.
If we look in the US has said that the US Fed, Jerome Powell, the US Fed chairman, has turned around and said that the next move will be a reduction, right? And it could be as early as March, right? Which is very interesting when they change these conversations and rhetoric. When interest rates went down in the US, everything went down. When interest rates went up in the US, everything went up. If we look here in Australia, interest rates, if we didn't increase our interest rates, our dollar would crash. If our dollar crashed, our imports would come higher, right? We'd be paying more for imports. We pay more for imports, inflation gets more rampant, right? So whichever way
Okay.
we're going to die, right? We're backed off the back of the US currency.
Yes.
So we need to adjust, not because we need to, kill every household in Australia, but also to protect our dollar from inflation eroding it. So it's a real checkmate. And this is where the currencies will all die in this next phase, which is amazing. So what's my view on the dates? This whole system is cooked. I'm so surprised that they were able to get the interest rates up to 455 basis
But
points.
did they really make the decision? The decision's made outside.
Yeah, it's a call that's
But
been done.
but can I ask you something?
Yeah.
What you thought? We are now seeing in the global picture now things we have never ever seen before on the
In what way?
planet. With what is going on, and I'm not going to mention by name, but what is happening in the Middle East is unprecedented.
Mm-hmm.
We've never seen such concessions, and the fact is they are losing
Yeah.
the war publicly around the world. Now, the scenarios say if we go into however they want to put World War III, but we go into a real war scenario, how is that going to affect Australia? I mean, geographically, we're probably in the best position we could possibly be. But how's that going to affect the economy? And how's that going to...
We're the bitch. We're the
America's
we're the-
bitch in the Pacific. Yeah.
No.
okay.
We're
are.
not. We're not America's bitch, right? We are technically when they view it, right? We've got Pine Gap, we've got infrastructure here.
Yes.
But whoever the ruling superpower is, we are their bitch, right? Whether that is US or China or Russia or whoever, right? Whoever wants to be, right? And there's, we could go into depth, which we're not going.
We're
into
not going to
about
go into
who
that.
controls
But
those
it's
people
not.
as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, who controls those people? Because there is high levels of families that we don't even hear talked about that are out there and whatnot. But we've been in a war for many years, right? Whether it be the war on our on kids, right? Whether it be the war on their minds, right, to take them young. Whether it was us going through the war because they were removed from our parents to send to a school, right? Now it's a psychological war, right? It's fought in a different way, right? Why rob a bank with a gun when you can go with a felt tip pen? And
Or watch it on a screen. Television's used as a weapon. But when I'm saying, when I talk about war,
but if you want to talk about a hot war where things are getting blown up,
or that resources are withheld, whereby oil is not coming to Australia. You know what I mean? Like they actually block trade routes and stuff like that because we rely on a lot. When that happens, it's not necessarily bombs dropping on the country, but the entire infrastructure of the world trade and economy is affected
we're
by
very
trade.
valuable, right? We've just seen that chart that I showed beforehand, the financial markets around this country. Everyone's got their money into Afterpay and all that sort of stuff. But if you look at it, it's the commodities, it's the real assets, right? We're a very rich country.
We're very rich in that.
So what would happen to us is we would just become under new management. In a worst case scenario, we we have a new ruler, right?
Yes.
Oh, Lord King, Queen, right? It's like, oh, hey, Lord GGP, right? Instead of King, it's GGP.
And what do you think the first thing they're going to do when if we're under communist rule?
We're under communist rule already.
Well, communist rule is when the state now owns everything. There's no private ownership of anything.
Well, look, we're heading into roads like that, right? And I think that the ones that have more power over the ones that don't. And it's they call them a landlord for a reason, right? Because they're the lord of the land, and a lot of people don't realise the words that are being used, and they get changed over decades and generations, and all that sort of stuff. It's very
Yeah, look, there's economic rulership, but there's also, when you talk about global dominance of a country, say it was America or England or the last 300 years, there's always whatever centre it is, like London or Vienna or Paris or New York or these type of things. Everyone gravitates there. Rome. But I do not ever see that happening, whereby everyone's going to be moving to Shanghai and Mumbai and all these places. These are not going to become.
We've got a lot of things we could sell off and like deals that we could do with what we've got in the ground. Like we're very powerful in that.
And we can
sell the resources.
And we have a natural barrier.
Yeah.
I was just looking at offshore in the Arafura Sea and what's there. We've got a very good natural barrier around Australia. It's a very difficult place to get to.
I never have any thought about a war that would get.
But a war in the Northern Hemisphere is going to affect us in terms of the trade and what can.
There's been different agreements, different deals. But when you look at any of the G20s or we look at the World Economic Forum, we look at those things, they're sitting at the same table, right? They're sitting at the same table. They say Putin's a bad bloke, and we're not going to go into politics here. They say Putin's a bad bloke, but then the next minute you sit there and look at him, and he's one of the rising stars that sits inside the papers, right? They're sitting at the same dinner table. All these people that are at war, they're allegedly at the war, they're all sitting at the same table.
Yeah.
And we shared videos recently of the planes coming out of Afghanistan when all the people were hanging on the plane. Did you see that?
And the fake ones.
The fake ones that blow up planes.
Yes.
Exactly, right?
But that's where you can never believe anything you see.
You can't, right? So one thing that's factual, right? Like if I pour 2 drops of water into the cup, there's 2 drops of the water in there. It's physical, you can calculate, you can see it, it's accounted for. So figures don't lie, numbers don't lie. Anything else can be, things can be manipulated and all that sort of stuff. They've manipulated the shit out of this. The rate of height that they've taken the interest rates to, there is no going back, right? It's impending, it's imminent. It's imminent financial catastrophe out there. Imminent, right? But we had imminent financial catastrophe in 2020, in February 2020, when they gave everyone free income, no taxes, don't pay rent. They did that. We're going to see more aggression on that because when we have to reverse the direction that we've had, they're going to have to do a lot more. So if they just went up by 0.5%, they would have had a sustainable turnaround, right? But they didn't. And this is a controlled demolition of our financial system here. If you ask my view on it, it's controlled demolition of the financial system. At the end of the day, if you look at 1930 and 1935, right, and you had the Great Depression that took place, then all the same dwellings would have existed, all the same things. It'd just be different ownership, right? And it's just a redistribution of wealth.
But then what got them out of it was a giant Second World War, which is a continuation of the first one. But that's what got out of it.
That's just some propaganda. What got them out in the 1960s when they went broke? They changed the monetary supply. They went bankrupt, changed money. They took away the gold standard, took away British Bunds.
Yeah, 1971.
In 1971. And
which is what we're still on.
A bigger Ponzi scheme. So in 1960 to 1980, 1970 was the change point. Yeah. Everything inflated away even greater, because they've changed the monetary policy, they've changed the monetary system and the base of that. So if you ask me for what the future will be, we've got another one of them coming, and it ain't going to be pretty for most people, but those that do, put the plays in place, then they're going to do very well. People are doing.
Well, I think we're better off here in Australia than we are anywhere else.
Interest rates are coming down. There's 0% concern on my front, right? Whether it's I've been a day too early, right? A week too early, a month too early, 6 months too early with saying that. But I've been 6 months too early telling you that we're going to have a hyperinflation going back in 2017, right? And those things have played out to the playbook of what I've talked about, which sounded stupid back then. I sound mainstream now. Like the shit
everybody's talking hyperinflation.
But at the time, it was like Birch is off his head, right? And I'm telling you all that the rates have to drop. So if there's a concern of interest rates,
I think interest rates are the least of anyone's concerns.
The governments are going to go bankrupt. The governments are going bankrupt, which is amazing that the governments will go bankrupt from this. Whoever would have thought of that? Whoever would have thought about it? They've taken out debt. They've taken out trillions of dollars worth of debt. And I've got an article, my last article, before we get into it. We could talk. We could have a 10-hour session. This would be like a Joe Rogan
Do you
session.
think people go, yes, about 3 hours of Rogan with Elon Musk?
Something like that, but we wouldn't want Elon Musk in here. Like, get out of here.
His Starlink though, Nathan. His Starlink is fantastic. I know it's more expensive, but my God, it's fast. It is so fast.
Have you got it?
No, my neighbour's got it down in Boca.
Here's my last article, right? Housing prices back at record highs, defying Australians' interest rate rises, right?
Yes, we're seeing it every day.
Every day. What are you seeing in the market, Jeremy?
All I see is that more and more people want to get into the market now, even with the rising interest rates. I think with rising interest rates, we get more calls about people getting into the market than we do people saying, hold off. I hardly hear this anymore. I want to wait and see what the market does. I used to hear that a lot in like 2018 now. So I want to wait and see what happens.
No one knew what inflation is.
But now I'm not, I hardly hear that at all. No one says it.
People don't have a concern about debt, right? Smart people and people more educated now don't have a concern about debt. They realize that money is debt, that money has lost its value, money is being manipulated. Money isn't even money, it's currency, it's a fiat currency, it's fake. And the debt becomes relevant with inflation. And at a time like now, the assets are what's rising, right? And they can't even, they've put up interest rates from 10 basis points to 455 basis points or whatever, 460, whatever it is, like 460, but whatever it is, I don't even look at the interest rates anymore. What did they put it up to the other day? It was 435, I think. Maybe it's 435, I don't know. Yeah, maybe it's 435 would be about correct. But maybe 4.6, whatever it is.
But I think it's because the banks now realise that they're not in the driver's seat when it comes to debt.
They can't control it.
Yes.
I was talking to a real estate agent this morning, and he's like, Birchy, I've known him for like 10 years or so. He's like, what do you think? Like, he was talking about, we're just talking about markets and stuff like that. And he goes, surely people can't afford to keep paying this. I don't understand. He was basically saying the same sort of stuff this article was saying. And I said, what you've got to understand is that a lot of people do have money. He goes, no one has any money. I'm like, no, they do have money, right? The wealth is being transferred out there. So if you owned a property for that you paid 700 grand for, now it's worth 1.2, which everybody that owned the property before the last 2 years has doubled their value in the thing, right? So their net worth has gone up. So they can go back to the bank and use it as an ATM, their asset, and pull out debt.
So long as they can service for it.
Correct.
This is the thing, is that
so that's
the bank knows.
That's where the hyperinflation will come in, because everyone will be able to service it. People don't have a comfort in money. If everybody in this watching this video today, just think about it. If you could pull out $1 million right now and be able to buy shit, knowing that your money's losing value, you'd want to go and take it out and buy shit. If you can't buy it today, then when the day that you can pull it out, you're going to pull it out, right? So imagine when everyone's running at the doors when monetary policy changes. It's
going to be a feeding frenzy. Because it's so limited as to what you can get. If they're talking about needing 60,000 new dwellings, you know that there's a crisis.
There's 600,000 people. There's like 800 in the next, like last year, this year. So this year, some stat out there, it was meant to be like 450. It's got up to like 600,000 people in the last 12 months that have come in. Amazing.
And there's limited areas where they can go. I mean, there's in the regional areas where they're needed. They still don't have the infrastructure. In order to be able to house them and accommodate
cause a new demand for a new boom to occur. There we go.
Well, that's what we're looking at.
Like infrastructure, I mean, road, rail, all that. It's crazy. So let's read this article. It goes on to say the 7.5% drop from the 2022 or April 22 peak has been recovered, but some cities are faring better than others, CoreLogic analysts say. Australian house prices are back at record levels, recovering all of the 7.5 dip from the previous peak in April 2022. According to the data group CoreLogic, as of Wednesday, the home value index has climbed 8.1% higher than the recent nadir it reached at the end of January this year, defying the 5 additional interest rate rises by the Reserve Bank back then. The V-shaped recovery may seem counterintuitive, given that high interest rates, equally pessimistic levels of consumer sentiment, and the high cost of living pressures. However, the recovery can be explained by an imbalance between the supply and demand. And this literally looked like a V. It looked like I drew that with a squiggly, like you've screenshotted, gone with your finger, right? interesting, and we're seeing that out there happening.
Well, and we're also seeing a lot more is the distrust in superannuation. The more and more clients are saying, I want to set up self-managed super funds in order to be able to buy property. They want more control, and they see by having houses, even though you can't pull the equity or whatever, but they want that
Because
as an option.
they know that their super is like Wall
Dwindling.
Street, and they're losing. You got some commies they're putting their grubby little mitts in there, trying to take their wealth away from them, which is
And all trading's insider trading anyway. You can only do well in the stock market if you've got insider trading.
Yeah. Just checking through the comments here. They also said today cash he's got in 3 years. I think before that, well, it's pretty hard. I actually had to go and get some cash today from the bank for one of my
But
trades.
cash is king. We love. They want us not to use
I
cash.
don't think that they'll try and control people. I don't think they can remove it.
They tried it like last year when I was in London. I didn't.
They removed
They
the
don't use
entry
it.
points.
There's no one uses cash whatsoever anywhere
Yeah.
in London. This time, in cabs and stuff, they said, "Look, if you got cash, I'd like cash." But I still didn't. I didn't get £1 out
Yeah.
in the ATM.
Yeah.
Not one.
They're removing the ATM. George said I should borrow Jeremy's rinse for my hair. Jeremy's hair is.
I don't have
Well,
a rinse. I've
no,
never used anything in my hair whatsoever. I hardly even wash it.
Chad said he. Sam said it's going off tonight. Well, that's what happens when we get Jeremy on, right? It's always
Really,
a
that
party.
happens with
It's always a party. No, it's
We've
a
got a
party.
lot to say.
We could like, it's. We could,
Nathan's the first person I met in Australia since I came back from Texas who actually thinks outside of the mainstream, whereby everyone just goes straight into the government, looks for the PPPs, where private public equity. He's the first one to know, fuck that shit. You build your own kingdom.
Exactly.
And the best way to do it is through housing. It is the only way that you can make money, truly, if you're working,
Yeah.
and you need to earn passive income, and it is the bedrock of the common law. Property. The more properties you have.
Keep going on that, Gerald. I was going
But
to
it's
say
true.
something, right? I was going to say something like you said about the PPP and you need to be careful of the hands that you shake, the people you interact with, the deals that you do, who you trade energy with, right? Like, I mean, mentally,
You found out
right?
you're having to shake hands and count your fingers afterwards.
Correct, right? Where do all my wallets, rings, and watches go, right?
Yeah.
After you shake, right? And that's what people don't realise. They're doing these deals, talking to people. They're running. The victim is running into the predator, right? And that's when the people are going to those places, right?
And it's usually the public that gets screwed up. Every time they win
Exactly.
the roads, they do
Exactly.
public-private partnership. Who ends up getting screwed?
Exactly.
The consumer, the government gets the rough end of the asset.
Someone that
pineapple.
we know said about what do you call it? Like when a petition, right? A government petition about something, right? Without saying names of those people, you talked about my back beforehand, and that person will talk about yoga, right? That
Yeah,
person,
yeah.
So I spoke to that person, and they said about it. And I said, look, you should. And so he sent me the link about this petition. I said, mate, I ain't signing anything from your government, right? I ain't signing it. I ain't running to the government because I don't want to talk to them. I don't want to communicate to them. And when you do communicate with them, you're going and entering all your data, going, oh, this is what I stand for, right? And you've got to enter your email address, your name, all this sort of stuff. And then you're now putting a target on your head. Why would you go and do that for? And it's like, no, that's not the case. And then a week later, I saw the same person, and they go, yeah, I had a look at it, and I looked into it a bit further, and I was like, hang on a second, you're setting yourself up for failure. And people are running into the arms of their capture.
Well, it's because we put 200, 300 years ago, or going back 1,000 years, everyone all they listened to was the church. Like they may have liked this bishop or that pope or whatever, but as soon as but that was what they based their belief on, was the church.
Yeah.
Government has just replaced the church. It's now a secular God and they can't believe they're being lied to
People are
continuously.
obeying without questioning,
Yes.
right?
But they have nothing, they've got no belief in anything else. So, but now they're seeing the mask is off. You're seeing that they have no interest in your life whatsoever. It's all corporations. It's an exchange of SIM cards, as I said before. And whoever is running the corporations can call at 2:00 in the morning and say, look, we need this because we're going to make a 4% increase every quarter because we live in the world of Milton Friedman. Infinite growth in a finite world is the economic policy, and it's insane. That's why we're going to go into hyperinflation.
They've gone way too far. They've gone way too far.
It's an insane policy.
The greatest thing is that they have done all these rate rises, right? But they still haven't been able to control inflation, right? It's bigger that they do it, because it's out of control. The genie is out of the bag. When you think about just the term, the genie, the gin, it's
Yes,
out of the
it's-
bag, right? It's out of the bag, right? And that's the world we're living in today.
But it's extraordinary to see what's happened with the biggest companies like BlackRock and Vanguard. They have lost billions. We won't mention, the cause of it, but boycotts on these huge corporations has cost billions, and it's not going to
It's just a few
stop.
people. It's just a few people that are waking up, but it's not enough, and they won't really control it. They'll just find a new little scheme to.
But I mean, but these big corporations like McDonald's and Starbucks and all
Yeah.
these have lost billions and billions of dollars in the last quarter, and it's not stopping. No one's going to these places.
Because they can't afford it.
Well, they can't afford it.
They-
They're going to the local barista instead of going to Starbucks.
I wouldn't say that. I'd just say that they're falling. That's what they could use as a rhetoric, but they can't afford it. People can't afford a Big Mac meal for $17.
Is that how much it is now?
I don't know, but
I've
I've just
never
seen
been
it.
to McDonald's since I was 15.
I love Macca's. I haven't been there all year. Like, I just haven't touched anything
You
from around
haven't
my
touched You ever put a Big Mac in a microwave and heat it
No,
up after a
I've
week
never
or
done
something?
that. Never done that. Yeah. So, and you said something beforehand, Jeremy. You were going to say about we're under common law and
Yeah, common law. Property is the basis of common law.
Mm-hmm.
It's 90% of common law is based on property rights. So the more property you have, the more rights you have. That is why they make it so difficult for you to be able to build a portfolio. Because people, fundamentally, you've never seen on Channel 7 or Channel 9 or any commercial station any good news about property. It's always we're in a bubble, we're in a recession, property prices. I can't even remember a time when property prices weren't going to collapse 50% in Sydney.
there was two things that I'd do on TV back in the day, right? One, it said, call me in and go, oh, you want to do a speech about it, right?
Yeah.
And the other one would be where I'd be like, oh, do you want to do like the expert sort of panel sort of hosting of the show, right? So there's those two different TV aspects, right? The first one is every time they put me on the TV, they go, this kid, he's 25 years old, he's got 25 properties, right? And they put me up like I'm some fucking dumbass, right? And they don't understand the intellect, they're not talking about the intellect. But I realised that I was just the RBA shill, right? It's like someone's called up and said, go get a puppet and put him on the TV screen, right? And I'd sit there and go, oh, property investing's good, whatever the case may be. But then I realised that whenever I wanted to give value or context, it wasn't allowed to be talked about.
They cut you off.
Right, exactly, right. And then when it'd be like, we've got a table like we've got here right now, and then there'd be like plugs where you'd hook your little earpiece in or whatever, and then be like pre-records or whatever. So it'd be live, but then it'd be like a 5-minute cut through and whatever. And everything's written on teleprompter. You have to read from the script or whatever. And then when it comes off, it's like, okay, so what's really going on out there, right?
That's
and
what
it's
I
like,
love, yeah,
what's
I
really
love
going on out there in the market? It's like, well, we can't talk about things because it's going to affect the advertisers. Who's the advertiser? Oh, there are other BlackRock, Vanguard, State Street, right? Own sort of companies. And it's like it's very controlled, right? And that's why I spoke out. And there's big hands that have come and slapped me for it, right? There's big hands that have come out and kicked me in the ass to try and be like, hey, why'd you do that? And it is the matrix. It is. I've seen it firsthand, right?
You are dealing with the laws of the matrix of the universe. You are meddling with the laws of the universe.
But it's like, I don't think there's anything out here to talk about that will get us fucking. The Clintons come out and find me. There's nothing like that. But it's like I see it very clearly. And for me, I look at that and I'm like, hang on a second, there's opportunity there, right? There's elements that you can't touch within their system. And it's like, let's go fuck with that, right? Let's just be humble about it. Let's just,
You do what you can do for people within a small thing. You do have to fly under radar to a very large degree. We are high noon in the age of cringe. You can't really be in a public eye, in a mainstream publication without being a bit cringy and having to lie continuously.
Exactly.
It's quite
It's
embarrassing.
just controlled. And I made a video, I think it was about like 5 years ago, and it was like me being a smartass thanking the central banks. It was me thanking these criminal organisations, these cartels, because if it wasn't for them, we wouldn't have the opportunities, right? And I'd always yell and scream and like, oh, this is bullshit, whatever, right? And yell about it. And I've never once gotten angry by it. I've been yelling and screaming because I get excited by the fact of the opportunity that people. I'm just trying to share. I'm like, this is a fucking game. No, everyone wake up and realize that this game here we can play, right? It's a game for us all to play. Other big fucking players are moving and playing with the jigsaw pieces.
You see the opportunities.
Opportunities.
There's opportunities in absolutely whatever happens. There's always opportunities to be able to succeed and not allow a negative reaction to it.
Exactly.
Oh, these funks are these putting me down. But it's a serious
We'll add that
thing.
one to the list, folks. I've never once said that word on a video. I've refrained. I've used some profanity before,
sorry,
but
I'm sorry,
that's
no,
okay.
don't
Jeremy,
sorry,
the news
don't
for all.
Well, there's got to be a first for everything, but really, if you can look at it from a negative point of view, but it's not going to do you any good.
Yeah,
We've down that road, but it doesn't work.
It's exciting. So we've gotten through about an hour.
Yeah.
We've talked about our main topic of today.
Which is regional. Well, I'm a big fan of regional Australia. In fact, I think it's where everything starts in regional Australia, and everyone should be moving, quite honestly.
I quite often think about regional Australia nowadays, right? Like people always say, "Oh, Birchie, what's it like on the Gold Coast?" I ain't no fucking Gold Coast. I'm in Sydney, right?
But it's not really regional anymore. It's just part of Greater Brisbane.
Exactly.
Russ Himm's built great roads
Exactly.
up to the Sunshine Coast and down there. But everyone complained about Joe Peterson, but he understood infrastructure. He understood the basis of an economy because he had his office and all he did was count the cranes. And he'd know the economy by by the number of cranes were out there.
Yeah.
This was a very smart man.
And you look at it, like I think about cities now, right? I'm like, hang on a second, like I was talking to someone about development, right? Like today, I called someone. I saw a sign I saw a sign come up. I've got like a few acreages in my street that I lived in. I moved to the other one, and I saw one come up, and it was 25 acres, and I asked how much. It was about 50 million bucks, right? I was like, that's pretty fucking good, right? What can we do to buy one, right? And it's like, oh, that's not an option, whatever the case may be. And I was talking to someone that was in the car just while I was driving with them, and I was like, if I just sell one of mine and go, here's 50 mil in there, right? It's not cooked yet, right? It's like a cake that's been put in the tin and it's in the oven. It's going to cook soon, right? And you want to get it out at the right time. But it's like, it's not cooked. It's still sloppy. It's just being put in there, right? And I look at it and I think, well, if I did that, I chuck 50 mil in the bank today, what would I do with that, right? And it'd probably be 100 million and I'd lose the house that I'm in today. I'd be like, okay, if I took that 100 mil, what would I buy? I'm like, I'd buy a nice new waterfront beach house. My one's across the road from the water, but I'd buy one right on the water. And I'd be like, I wouldn't want to buy another one in Sydney. I'd just buy a little unit next to the office.
We've got 30,000 miles of coastline. Why would you buy in Sydney?
Exactly, right? I'd have the one just out of Sydney, and I'd probably get like 100 acres, 200 acres, where you could just helicopter, right? The zoo wants to be on the road, right? Why would
if you can do
traffic
helicopter,
yes. What traffic is in the city? And the heartland of our country is out there, right? The heartland. We've got all the crime that happens in Sydney and capital city. I mean, crime like financials. We've got all that GDP happening here. We've got the white collar of everyone that's out here. But you've got all the heartland, right? Like you've got the real workers, you've got the real people. You've got if we turn to a war, you'd have the people that go, yeah, we can fix that machinery, right? We've got the parts, we've got the
and then not relying on the electronics of your car because all that's going to go. I mean, sooner or later, this technology is not going to last forever. It's only like one solar flare, it's gone. Seriously, all of it.
No one thinks about graphene if it was to be done as like as a what do they call it?
Got a huge graphene.
When they do like the EMP, right? EMP when they could just literally set off a bomb. Like everyone's thinking about, like if I was like a fucking like wanted to take the world back for everyone and send them back a few 100 years, a graphene bomb, right, and doing an EMP attack and just wiping out any electrical device, you'd see things change in the world, right? But someone's going to do it. Someone's going to do it at some point.
Well, sooner or later,
possibly.
It's probably going to happen from a solar flare. So this technology is not going to last.
What would happen? What would happen in the cities, right? I reckon 2 weeks before everyone would die, right? Think about the first one would be everyone would die because if there was no power, the sewer treatment plants would overflow into the streets, and then that would create disease and create pollution, and people would die Straight up.
And all they've got is the toilet paper and they can't eat that.
You
I
can't
mean, this
eat
was
that.
an insane thing that happened. People running for toilet paper. Go, wait a second, if you're not going to eat, why are you going to need toilet paper? You know? It is a concern, but it's not something you can prepare for. But you know, sooner or later, it's not going to happen. The technology is not going to be with us.
Yeah.
I don't reckon within the next 20 years.
I think it's great. Like, technology is great. Who knows where it's going to go?
But
I
you've got to
think
be
it's
able to
gonna
learn
disappear, But
mechanics.
it's like, you want to be, if we're in a war, I want people I want community around me. I reckon I'll pick up my phone and be like, yeah, okay, let's go on. Let's, we're
Well,
going
that's
through
what
the
happens in the
apocalypse.
country. Your
You need
neighbours,
community.
yeah, but your neighbours and you look after one another
Yeah.
far more than you do in the cities. I mean,
Yeah.
I've lived in places in the city. I have no idea who my neighbour is. If I ran into them in the shops, I wouldn't recognise them. Whereas in the bush, everybody in my area, everybody, especially as you've had 2 bushfires, but you work together.
Yeah.
Really, someone's got this, someone's got that. When the fires happened, I went down with 200 litres of diesel because it had all went on the south coast.
Yeah.
No one could get it, so the only way you get it was I had to get it here and truck it down
Yeah.
to the neighbours who had nothing for their generators and car and everything, and 12 of the neighbours lost their houses in the bushfires, and it's going to happen again. But it's just but it's worth the price.
Yeah.
You're
Community.
facing something. Yeah.
Community, yeah.
I'd rather that be living in the eastern suburbs where we got 2 million people and you can't get out of here.
Oh, do you want to look at my Louis Vuitton?
What is this? You got luggage, but where are you going?
Or you hop in the Tesla.
Yeah, Tesla, but
It'll
how are
get
you
you
going
like 2 hours away.
how are you going to get Tesla out of Rose Bay? There's only one road out, New South Head Road, I think, and you've got 2 million people living there. Good luck.
If the last 3 years have taught us stuff, prepare, plan,
Prepare,
strategy.
plan, and the biggest.
Never assume.
Yeah, but never assume. What we've seen in the last 3 years is a huge diaspora out of the cities, and
Yeah.
and look, especially in Victoria, moving up to Queensland has been one of the
Massive one.
It is the biggest move of migration of people, and the more people you talk about living in Sydney, people who are actually living in the cities, they go, I don't want to live here anymore.
Yeah.
I want to get up, but I'm because of work,
Yeah.
traffic. I'm sick of it. Everyone talks about living rurally.
So we look at the Gold Coast, right? Gold Coast ain't rural no more, but people like it, right? I used to love the Gold Coast. We used to buy 50 properties a month out there minimum, every month in, month out for like 10 years. And we own massive infrastructure in the Gold Coast. We have control of, the property sections. There's islands that we have half the properties on the islands that we control and management and whatnot throughout the businesses, which is very cool. But when you look at like 200 grand turn to 400 grand turn to 600 grand, it's like that's had its day. We've made our money, right? We know.
Longer in that area, in that area of growth. But it used to be, no one used to buy in the Gold Coast. The 60s
People
and
loved it.
70s, that was always a bubble. They'd
Yeah.
go up, boom, but we're not seeing that, and it ain't going to happen again.
It's not happening.
No, and it is actually, pretty consistent now because it's only an hour from Brisbane. And it's a suburb of Brisbane.
Yeah.
All that area is basically it's gone.
It's
as
not
far
worth
as
it.
Jim-
Like there's stuff that's of value, but it's very 1 out of 100, not 50 out of
But I remember, look, I remember in 2018, 2019, there were a lot of angry clients. They bought a lot. You bought a
Yeah.
lot of properties there, and they go, it hasn't done anything.
I bought it for 250k and it's worth only 300 grand, and I've had it for 4 years.
They go, it's now gone down to 250. You know what I mean? Like because
Yeah,
there
so
was
it's not-
nothing happening. Now all of them are just going. I remember one client I won't mention. He was ready. He bought so many properties in that area and was just like infuriated. And literally was ready to sort of like sell them all.
People did sell. They go, oh, this thing here, but without looking at the bigger picture, right? And now they can't get into that market. The 250k is worth 700 grand now.
Yeah,
The
but-
200 grand is worth 600 grand.
And then, but this guy now, when he realised, he came back in 2020,
Yeah.
literally, he was now borrowing and pulling like 400, 500,000 in equity from these properties each time that he was able to buy. He had about 2 or 3 properties in 2017. Now he's got 18. Just a few years later.
Yeah. And then what we need to look for is identify, where are those trends? Where's the infrastructure, right? Because if we've got these people coming in, and we've got 600,000 people in a year, like just put that in perspective, right? by 2034, I think it is, they're saying that Brisbane will be the same population as Sydney. Right? That's very fucking odd.
With 2024.
2034.
Well, that's after the Olympics because
Yeah,
they've got
yeah.
the Olympics in it.
But the
Yeah.
same size as Sydney, right? So it's going to grow, but it's had like, it's stupid, right? It's already had a massive amount of growth there, right? But there's other areas, right? You look at Darwin, for example. I'm not suggesting I've never bought there. I don't
Darwin
buy
is a smart city test like Melbourne. They're both-
yeah. So I look at it, and you don't own the land, and there's lots of things. I'm not saying Darwin's good at all, right? But population-wise, they've got like 150. Let's call 150,000 population. This year, we've had 4 Darwins imported to a country, right? We're bringing in our
it's
people.
a good way to look
right?
at it, isn't it?
We-
4 Darwins.
4 Darwins, right?
Mm.
That's like.
But we don't have the thing is we don't have an existing
infrastructure? Where's the infrastructure that
Yeah.
we can put them into? If we're going to make smart cities, where are they going to go to? Where's the opportunity? Is it the areas where they haven't had any growth, right? We're not going into locations here today. That's our IP. We're always in there. We're there before it happens. You see curves move. We've been there and gone before it happened. We've got in for a home invasion, in and out in the middle of the night before it's happened. We've taken all the assets out of the town, right? And there's locations that are like that are all around the country. They are disappearing, but it's like, Brisbane and the Gold Coast and the Sunshine Coast, and you look up the coast and there's areas which have doubled, tripled just overnight. There's areas that are on the eve of them doubling, tripling. They've got the infrastructure. They've got infrastructure projects going in.
But it's strange how you still get there's a mentality, and it must be because they watch TV, that they just go, I only want to buy in metro areas. I'm really scared of regional Australia. And you're sort of going, okay, and you have to explain what is physically happening in Australia.
It's like if we had 100 grand, right? Let's say this deal here is 200 grand, you've got 100 grand in it, it's worth 300, you've got 100 grand just by buying it, right? And there's someone going, well, I don't want the 100 grand because you're giving it to me in 5-cent pieces, right? I wanted $100 notes. It's like, well, the 5-cent pieces are actually worth more than 100 grand because the metal content is in it, right? But it doesn't matter. You just put in the fucking shovel, put in the U-tray, drive to the bank, deposit it, and it's still 100 grand, right?
You still have to go to a few banks.
Banks,
Because they don't exert 100 grand. You have to go to about 4 different banks that put you in because they
They
don't
only
like
have
cash.
to have less than $1,000. You
Yeah.
can only get less than $1,000 to get in coinage, right? Just little tip of the day, random thing. But yeah. So, what are you seeing at the moment, Jeremy? Like with our community and like what's happening to prices in regional areas? What have they taken off? Have you seen them triple? Any areas triple?
I've seen a couple of them. I've seen double. I've seen clients taking a lot of, but the areas that we're going into, that what I'm seeing is they're very much still under market value. They haven't been caught on by anyone else yet. That's what I'm seeing. But the rents, you know what I mean? Like there's
Positive cash flow.
there's 0.01%
Yeah.
rental vacancy in these areas.
Yeah.
And they've got unbelievable structure in place.
Yeah.
So we're never going to go back to this place whereby this is going to become a ghost town if the economy collapses because we can't afford to build the infrastructure, build new towns. These are central to both mining, agriculture. They've got multifaceted economies already in them.
If we look at there's areas that have been predominantly mining regions, right, which are big agriculture hubs that are just out of town from them, but they're putting in massive infrastructure, ports, rail, distribution channels. This shit's the next 50 years is they're building out the next generations of that. It's just interesting. When you talk about infrastructure that's being built, the infrastructure that's being built, how much does it cost you to build a sewer treatment plant, right? How much did it cost them the last sewer treatment plant that they built? How much is the next sewer treatment plant?
It's not even cost, it's the time. I mean, it took them 2 years to build the crosswalk up on Old Northern Road. The time it took to rebuild Kobe after the earthquake. That was built quicker than the crosswalk outside Castle Towers.
As a shopping centre down the
And a
road.
shopping centre down the road, seriously.
So
it's time.
So to build Like you go to a town and go, well, there's a fucking sewer treatment plant, there's running water, right? They've got running water, they've got electricity, got substations. They can't build this stuff.
You can't build it quick.
They can't
The only
build
people who can do it are actually the Chinese. They're great at building. They've
Mm.
changed airports overnight. They understand
Yeah.
timing and infrastructure. They just
So
say, let's
I've
do
got
it.
so many Chinese trades, so many.
Yeah,
I don't build 150 bathrooms in a year.
it's
That easy.
They know how
If it
to
was
do
an
it.
Aussie, they'd be like, oh, you know, got that big night last night, I was on the bags. You know, these things happen on trade sites. I see the work of them. That's not being racist to Aussie folks.
No, you can't. Everyone
You've
is
got me
in
being
Australia.
silly like you, Jerry.
Everybody in Australia is an Aussie as well. The minute you arrive at this airport, you're an Australian.
I'm just saying.
You know,
I've got
no choice.
I've got people that are like, oh no, job's too far, right? I've got 2 weeks ago, I got one of my trades. He hopped into an aeroplane and he's gone into the fucking Daintree rainforest to put 30 bathrooms in there. From Sydney. Hopped on an airplane.
Well, because there's no tradies. No
They don't
tradies
want to do the job.
Mm.
I've got a job in a regional town, and they said 35,000 a bathroom, right? In the Whitsundays, right? 35,000. I ain't paying 35,000. I'll get all of them done for that.
Yeah, I mean,
commitment.
but we've got very limited ways of distribution. You know,
Yeah.
it's because we've got no major infrastructure all over over the country. We need super fast railways everywhere, roads, everything needs to be done.
These things-
Otherwise, we're not going to enter into the 21st century with any seriousness.
These things are being built. They're being gazetted, right? They're being gazetted. Here's something. Everybody lives in Sydney, right?
Mm.
Who in Sydney knows, before you Google it right now, what the OSO is?
I don't know what the OSO is. What
You
is
fucking lived in Sydney. The Outer Sydney Orbital, right? Gazetted as a M9, right?
Oh, right. You mean Camden and all that area. Isn't that in
Camden, Appin,
Picton?
all the way out through Penrith. So you've got the M7, and you've got the Outer Sydney Orbital, which connects through Penrith, out through the Hawkesbury, turns all the Wiseman's Ferry area, and out to the Central Coast, and connects both ends of the city to ports and everything, and turns us into that next city, right?
All right. Yeah, good.
They're taking land up at the moment, right? Who's been looking at land and been buying those lands over the years, Jeremy? I've been fucking watching this for decades, right? It's like, there's a chess piece, there's a chess piece. This infrastructure, the more people that come here, the more pressure that goes on the infrastructure. They need to put more things in. Lisa just said, I only know 15-minute cities. They're going to build them, right?
Mm.
So they're going to build it. Let's take advantage of that. Let's be a part of it. Let's, capitalize.
Is that where we can't move 15 minutes from where you are?
Yeah,
I'm 15 minutes to work.
you'll be. Don't worry, Jerry. You want to get to. You've got paradise there, Jeremy. You've got it.
Yeah. Well, look, everybody's got access. Everyone in Australia's got access to paradise if they want it, because we've got a huge
Dude,
country.
We're so wealthy. I just drove 7,000 kilometres in like 6 weeks. How long was it? I went out.
Yeah, up to Queensland.
Yeah.
And bumper traffic.
Bumper to bumper, right? Bumper to bumper traffic. From the minute I left Sydney, right, it's like, oh, okay, I'll get up to the F33 or the M1, right?
Mhm.
You go on the M1 and you get to the Central Coast, it's like, fuck, this is pretty busy. You get out of Newcastle, that's pretty busy. You go all the way up to Coffs Harbour, it's like, wow, that was pretty busy, right? That feels like driving to Penrith 5 years ago down the M4 freeway, right? And then you get to Gold Coast, and you're like, fuck, feels like I haven't left Sydney, right? Then you go through Brisbane, Sunshine Coast, you go all the way out, go to the Whitsundays, all the way up the coast. It's like, the amount of caravans, there's like, I counted how many caravans I was seeing. Like,
You've got
it was
people
like-
living in them. They've sold the house and now they just travel
Yeah,
around Australia. I mean, what they call the grey nomads. I mean, it is a retirement
they got
option.
brown-haired nomads now. Like,
Yeah,
they're just traveling.
People can't. Even my cousin in the UK, he got physics degree at Oxford and now lives in a van in Somerset because that's what he wants to do.
Yeah.
They don't want that. They're building and they're just going to drive all over Europe and Iceland and stuff, him and his girlfriend. And I think that's great. But I think more and more people want that mobility
Yeah.
in these, and they certainly don't want to live in cities.
See, Matty, he says, us tradies are a dying breed, unfortunately. Well, it can be, right? I actually thought about this recently, right? Like people nowadays, right? If we look at all these, you know, folk that are younger, right? I feel like I'm with the old boys here, right? Like, they're like, oh, I want to do fucking OnlyFans, right? And I want to get paid for being an Instagram, and I deserve this, I deserve that, whatever the case may be.
I want to be an influencer.
Yeah, I want to be an influencer. Oh, what's your job? Oh, I'm an entrepreneur. What do you do? Oh, I've just got to pack a business cards today, right? What have you done? Oh, nothing yet, right? And like,
This.
yeah.
What have you done on this?
Yeah. But we're now, if I was, I'll tell you what I think the wealthiest professional will be, right, in 10 years' time, is if I was like 16 today, I'd be going out and I was going to do a video on this. I will do a video on this separately, right? If I was 16 today, I'd go out, I'd fucking quit school, I'd be trade, a plumber, electrician, a builder, whatever, right? Trade, carpenter, yeah. Because there's none around. They're going to be so needed, right? And you get all the, like, by the time someone gets their 5th degree and they're 30 years old, they've got their fringe cut off, right? They've given protests, they've got pink hair and different things like that. No, just being stereotypical here. By the time they're 25, the person that's 16 gets a trade, becomes an apprentice, whatever, they could buy their first house at 18, 19, get their second house by 20, just it's an average trade, right? Just hustling it out. By the time they're 25, their school friend is getting their first job as a graduate, right? And they're in a position where they've got unprecedented amount of wealth. They've got a half dozen properties, 10 properties behind them. Like, they've had an income for all that time. It's such a big leg up, but people were sitting there going, oh, I don't want to be a tradie. If they are a tradie, they're like, oh, yeah, fucking drinks at 2 o'clock in the arvo. Like, I've seen so many bad things in the trade sites, right? So many bad things. I'm like, trades have like done drugs and different things. Like, get the fuck out of here, right? It's like unreliability, lying. There's good trades out there. To be a good fucking trade.
But I'll say that the tradies that we got as clients are really good.
Amazing.
Because they know they're earning good money, they also are the ones that the most diligent in creating a passive income. Because as I say,
because their backs are gone when they're younger.
They don't want to be pulling hairballs out of U-pipes when they're 60.
Exactly. But there's going to be the need for that. Like, that's an industry that I think
John Amos goes, Tyler's, absolutely.
Exactly. They're out there though. There's people that want to work. They're out there. I find them. I find these trades that are very, very good value, hardworking people.
Yeah, and once you do, they get referrals. And you've only got to be good at with a couple of people.
I've got good trades. I try to find them work to keep them busy. I'm trying to buy shit. Let's keep them ready.
Yeah,
I don't want to hand them out there. Like, I don't want them running off into other jobs and getting gobbled up. Like, I want to keep them the happiest life as I can give them. They're very happy.
Yeah, look, I don't know any tradies that's not working. There's no one sitting there waiting for the phone to ring.
Yeah.
I don't know a single trader. I need a carpenter down at Ben Baker to fix up the studio that got eaten. A few beams got eaten out by white ants. But, finding someone who's got to go, I've got 3 months before I can do it.
Yeah.
But yes, regional Australia.
So what do you say, like, if you could go back to 19 exactly, right? There's lots of soft people out there. Lucas says, my boss was still working at 93 and my dad is 78 and still working. There's so many softies, right?
But they enjoy working, yeah?
Enjoy it.
It's not because they don't have to. If you enjoy work, I'll be working till the day I die, Nathan.
I think I will be too.
I'll be working. This is what's for time. The world where you could travel the world and enjoy Europe or whatever, that's gone. I'm thinking to set foot in America again. As much as I love America, I can't believe it collapsed in,
It's a third world country. The fall of the empire, right? We're jumping in and out. We're going to talk more about these regional properties, Jeremy, because I've got lots of things to talk about. I've got a really good question to ask you that I just thought about. But we're talking before about currency, the collapse of our currencies, what's going to happen with interest rates, and whatnot. We are literally seeing the fall of the Roman Empire right now in front of our eyes. It is the fall of an empire, and empires aren't designed to last forever.
No,
Right?
we are seeing the end of the Western hegemony from 1492, basically is when it started, fall of Granada, to now it's at the end. But this last skirmish that took place is one of the most serious signs that I've ever seen of the end of the political end of the hegemony. That's why it's important we talk about people making the most of this regional diaspora.
So if we're a target of something, you wouldn't want to be, right? I think, okay, I've got heaps of little, runaway areas that I can go to, whatever. Looking at, if we could go back to 2018, sorry, and you've seen all these deals, 2008, it's just 5 years,
different
right?
world, it was a different world.
Different world.
Completely
different, right? Very different from all aspects, right? From all aspects. Like, people aren't going to. Someone said conspiracy before, and I think it was Jimmy beforehand said about conspiracy. I like the soft people, right? They're feeding us poison in those chicken nuggets, right?
Yeah.
They are poisoning us. You want to see every ingredient in every bit of food that you're consuming, right? You want to see every bit of ingredient that's in it, right? That's why I don't go to anywhere that has, it's poisoning. It's making the people weak. It's not just that they're soft because they can't handle it, right? Like, I've seen 2-year-olds that are like fucking gangsters pushing, punching, doing all different things, right? Like, there can be rough people out there, like, strong and strength out there.
You've got to eat better and less, though. They're eating far too much food.
Exactly, right?
Too much
Not just the food, but it's what they're putting into that that's keeping us docile, right? And people are docile to not even stand up for their rights, if there was a war, like we go back to 2002, right, and to Sydney, and there was fights in 2005, there was riots going on and stuff like that. Where did the men go out there, right? They're just not there, right? There ain't no one going to stand up for us.
We don't have that Anzac spirit has been sort of overtaken by wokeism, but it will come back. We are a different breed of people.
I think they've suppressed us, right? Whether it be food,
Too long, but it will come back.
Yeah.
It will definitely come back.
It will come back if people are pissed off enough to have things
and nothing happens on a full stomach. It will only happen on an empty stomach. Always. But that's why we've got to practice eating less food than what we do.
Yeah.
So we get used to it. We're not used to that now. And we haven't had any deprivation or rationing since the end of World War II.
Learn how to fast.
Learn how to fast, exactly.
Fast.
Because I do a lot of sitting, I try not to eat. I did today, but mostly you don't eat during the day, just caffeine.
Yeah. My mum told me tonight that I'm very unhealthy because I fast quite often, right? I'll eat my meals later on in the day and all that sort of stuff. And she's like, oh, that's very, very dangerous for you, right? I was like, no, you've just been brainwashed from things, right? It's like,
well, everything's now food orientated. Every show's now about My Kitchen Rules, Master Chef and stuff. Shovel it down your throat.
Dad just said being woke will keep you broke.
It sure will. as the Disney Corporation has learnt the hard way.
So the question is, we go back to 2018, right?
Okay.
We have the opportunity to buy wherever the fuck we want, right? Go back to 2008, right? So that's like 15 years ago. We could buy wherever we want. 2008, I knew what I'd buy. I outsmarted the markets, right? What I was buying back then, I was buying shit in Western Sydney. And
I didn't even know Western Sydney. If I could go back to 2001, I would have bought exactly where you bought in Madrid. I'd have bought up large tracts of land in Kellyville Ridge. Exactly. That's what I would have done. Exactly. Had I known it existed.
Yeah, exactly, right? And then we look at it now, and we go 2018, right? Just 5 years ago. What would we been able to do of what if you had the opportunity to go to, I don't know, Gold Coast or Orange, right?
2008 we're talking.
2018, only 5 years ago.
Oh, right, okay.
Gold Coast there, Cairns, right?
Yeah, well, I love it up there.
Perth, or Vaucluse, or Parramatta, or right, the best areas, the most expensive areas, blue chip areas, right?
Yeah.
They have not outperformed, right? We bought a property in South Headland for $59,000,
Yeah,
right?
yes.
It's now like 300 grand, right? That's gone up 5 times. Don't go and buy it now at 300 grand. It's stupid,
Yeah.
right? But the value was there at 5x, right?
And they're already getting
They're
great
getting positive
rent.
cash flow. They're getting like a 20% yield. And now they're getting like 100% yield per annum. 100% yield. 100% yield.
We know.
That's in like 3 years.
They're getting 600 a week for their place.
750. 750. They paid 60K. 750. Like 75%. Sorry, I was wrong with my quick calculations off the top of my head. But where would you, like, if you could go back, would you have bought it in blue chip areas? Would you have gone to
No, I wouldn't
regional?
have bought it. I'd have absolutely. But when I came back to Australia in '99,
Yeah,
we bought in down the south coast.
yeah,
You know, because that to me was I just loved this area, and the reason I came back from the States was to get land, get water,
yeah.
and live off the grid.
I think everyone should have that, and have the land, have the water. The problem with getting land and water, people are going to go, oh, I want to buy 100 acres today. You can't just go and finance it, right? Like it falls in a very special lending
It actually
category.
you have to buy it.
You need the foundation
You
portfolio.
you need a foundation and portfolio in order to do it. And even like there's a great business, the only business in town, but commercially out there, you're still looking at you've got to put 70% down
Yeah,
before the bank will give you a loan. They'll only loan you 30% of
yeah.
a business.
And a lot of them will do 50.
Yeah.
50%. So, it says here, Matty said, speaking of regional, Darling Downs property is insane. 400 grand properties getting 15 offers at a time. It's happening out there. It's
Well,
happening.
it's going to go all the like the Swimmersdale Blue Mountains of Brisbane, essentially, isn't it? And so
Incredible,
everything's gonna just move further out that way.
Yeah.
Over the next 10 years easily.
We were buying blocks of land in the Darling Downs for 10 grand 2 years ago. 10 grand, right? People go, oh, where's that land, Birch? They were in brand new housing estates. 10 grand for a block of land. Western Downs, Darling Downs. Can't buy blocks of land at 10 grand, not that often. One thing is, I think it's a DMR. What's that thing where they bring migrants to a specific location? So if you're a doctor and you're in India, right?
Yeah, they'll send you out to Walgett or somewhere.
Yeah.
And we've got a pharmacist who's out in the West and that he buys a lot of properties.
Yeah.
Through us.
Yeah.
And he's originally
Yes,
from Adelaide, and he's now living up there. They move a lot of the people that have got professional degrees and stuff.
If you're a doctor and you're in India, you come to Australia, you're not a doctor anymore.
No, you got to go and get
Go
your
back to
degree.
university.
Yeah.
And it's like I've been studying.
But even
for
if
10
you're
years.
from UK, even if you've got
Correct.
a
I
degree,
just use that as
yeah.
an
But
example.
I like the fact that Australia makes this as a distinction.
So you have to go. So there's only key regional locations that will allow that to occur, and these have happened, and then the towns have taken off, right? And we're always there before it even happens. We're there before they even announce these things, right? There's areas that
Look, this is you get in first, and that's the thing is you look for the key factors of infrastructure that are going in, the planning that's going in, what the councils, what the state government, what the federal government's looking at doing, and that's when you make the move to go in there because you know that there's going to be big capital growth in that, there's big investment in that area, and you're seeing multiple streams of income that are going to happen. It's not just it's not just mining. There's a whole lot of other industries going in, with it as well.
And I think people get fearful of. They've seen like the Gold Coast boom bust, but you want to pick it up at that bust, and it doesn't. It goes up, but then some of them stay up. Quite often they stay up. They don't.
Yeah, I don't think we're not going to see anywhere on the east coast of Australia. We're not seeing bust anymore because we're moving away from the whole idea. And that's partly with the internet as well. Is that people can live anywhere they want. They do not have to. They're not relying on going to an office anymore to be able to communicate. And there's too much work that's all done online.
Yeah. Got a question here from Jessica that says, just a question, Nathan, how did you become a buyer's agent? That's a very good question.
It is a good question.
There was no such thing as a buyer's agent 15 years ago. When B.Invested started, there was maybe like 5, 10 buyer's agents out there. There was not even in the industry. To be a buyer's agent, you need to be a licensed real estate agent. So I was a real estate agent when I first left school. I thought real estate agents are wealthy. I want to be a real estate agent. So I went to become a real estate agent, and I was like, this is the shittest job in the world. So I just didn't do it anymore. I just didn't want to be a real estate agent. So I got a job in media. I looked after a newspaper. I actually worked on building a newspaper that started in Sydney and whatnot. And then that's where I worked. I worked at News Limited actually in my career. And then I quit my job, and people wanted me to find them properties. And I was like, well, there's a thing, I didn't even know what a buyer's agent was. And then people were like, I'll pay you a fee if you do a deal like that. I'll buy that deal off you. And then I was like, well, hang on a second, I could be a buyer's agent. There was no such word for it really. And then I thought, well, I have to be under a real estate license. So I got my real estate license, and then I started the buyer's agency. And I didn't want to start the buyer's agency because I was just like, fuck, I don't want to deal with people going, oh, I don't like the house because it's it's not on the high side of the street, the emotions and stuff. So I designed my business more like an investment business, and I'm not a financial planner. I don't try to be one, but I do a lot better job than them, and I'm worth a lot more money than them. And I give guidance based on my expertise of my experience out there and all my research that I do in order to find those properties for people. And that's sort of what makes us very different. There's lots of buyer's agents out there. There was no such thing as a buyer's agent, but now people sort of get their Kellogg's box. I'm a buyer's agent because I've got a little certificate to say I'm one, but they've never bought a property. They haven't, they don't know. They don't have wealth. They haven't built wealth. So yeah, they can tell you just buy a property.
There's a lot of them out there. They've got a few properties.
Yeah.
But people are coming to them thinking that they're going to build 20. Well, these people haven't got 20 properties.
They're making money. It's like in the gold rush. People used to make money from selling the pigs, right? And it's basically what a lot of those businesses are. They're just businesses out there. They're not successful. When I started my business, I was just like, okay, if I have to be a buyer's agent, well, then I'll be a buyer's agent, right? But now it's like there's an industry around that. So I sort of was there before there was an industry of buyer's agents. So.
Well, it's like anything. People say, I need to go. I'm going to this guy who's going to look after my portfolio, and the property shares, whatever.
Yeah.
And you go, how much are they worth? And if they're not, and I said, if they're not worth 50 million, at least, why are you going to them? They don't know how to do it.
Exactly.
It's the same thing. But
what's their retirement plan? You want to be asking, what's your retirement plan? Tell me exactly how you're going to get retirement. If they're worth it, then they'll share it. They go, oh, that's a bit too personal. So, well, you're asking me to be personal with you and pay you to be personal. Like, I need to understand what's your strategy for you to become wealthy, for you to.
Well, tell me what your goals are, because it's important. Because that's one of the first things we ask anyone is, look, what do you want to achieve? Because we're not everyone's cup of tea. We're not here to build wealth according to what you've seen before. We're completely contrarian.
Yeah.
Therefore, you've got to understand that when you're coming on board, you're entrusting us to build a portfolio for you. The same way as you go to Warren Buffett and you go, what shares should I buy? Oh, I don't like those shares, Warren. Really? Really? Richest man in the world, Berkshire, you don't like what I've chosen for your portfolio. Okay.
Chad said, what is the criteria of property before you offer it to a client? I reckon half my portfolio is properties that my clients have rejected, and those properties that I buy, it's more so. And Jeremy see me in the office, and sometimes people think I'm like they're too flippant, or I'm too nice, or whatever. I'm not harsh. I'm just like funny and whatever. But I've had times where I've had clients go, oh, I'm not going to buy that property. It's not good or whatever. I'm like, fuck you, not going to buy it. I'm going to buy it, right? They go, oh, I'll buy it now. It's like, I'll take the deal. Half my portfolio is me just buying stuff that people were umming and ahhing on.
I like the question. She goes, why are they saying no to 50 grand?
Exactly. I'll show you how money's made. I'll show you how it's made.
Oh, really? But it grows on trees, doesn't it? They don't want 50 grand. Oh, okay.
So a lot of the time, if there's a bulk deal, I'll buy it. If there's the stuff that I'm buying from my investors, I'm invested in those areas myself.
That is one thing is that you're not buying in areas you're not invested in yourself. That is.
I mean, you buy, like, we're all growing together. So the deals have to be very strict of what they need to hit. Everybody's position is different. Sometimes we buy large blocks of units, sometimes we buy little 10 grand blocks of land, sometimes we buy $50,000 units or houses, but the numbers have to stack up. Predominantly, I'd say the bulk of what we do is 150 to say 350,000, mostly capital cities. We do have a little bit of regional in there as well. There was a point where it was only 95% cities and partially regional, but there's a massive opportunity out there, which is why we've been very active in those markets in recent years. The properties all need to be below market value, have upside for growth, and a strong cash flow. They need to be below replacement cost, and we need to have them in areas where people's incomes can support for future growth. Like if we look at a house and land with no eaves on it, literally, right? This is funny. I went for a walk with a mate the other day, and I took a photo of a house, right? And this house, I'm getting a pool built, right? And I'm like, this pool in my backyard, it's got to be a big one because it's a big yard. So I'm like, I don't want the big pool because it's going to cost a lot of money, whatever. And then I was like, look at this house. I was like, the house is the size for a pool, right? And people are paying $1.5 million for a house with no eaves on it, right? There ain't no way that income of that household will be able to support a purchase price of $3 million unless the interest rates are 0% or 1% or 2%, right? So the only way that it can go up is if they drop those rates, right? But if they didn't drop those rates to a certain level, then would that be able to double on itself? So I want to make sure that the incomes that are in the area are going to be able to support for those properties double, triple, quadruple. And that's what causes the growth to occur, because people can afford for that to happen. If they can't afford for it to happen, then it doesn't happen. So very stringent criteria for acquiring any property, but everybody's position is different. So the types of properties that I'd be putting forward to my clients vary based on what their goals are, what they need in their portfolio for them to get to where they want to be. So I hope that answers that question for you there, Chad.
I think we've got about, 10 minutes.
Yeah, okay. That's
All right.
Yeah, no, we'll wrap up in the next 5
Well, I've been enjoying this. I could do all right.
Well, let's do it all over.
We should do that one day, just a marathon. You know, they used to do telethons.
Telethons.
Remember, they go all night and people be phoning in on the phone and you talk to celebrities when they used to be one.
We should do a live one. Imagine this for a live. So when my team watch this, and if they're cutting the video up of that, here's an idea, right? And if one of my team are watching this, please present it to the communications team tomorrow. What we should do is do a live telethon, right? Where we do a Facebook Live and people talk to us about their position. We do a live call-in, right? Yeah. And people can call in and ask. Andrew said, yes, a marathon. Please speak to Gabby about this tomorrow, right? Because I'll forget. But a marathon where we're calling people in and answering, like, I've got this, tell me your situation, blah, blah, blah. We give them like 2 minutes of chat, 3 minutes of chat, give them an answer, go, next caller, come in, right? And we could do a call-in marathon, right?
Yeah, that would be great.
Yeah. Lisa just said we could buy properties while we're watching. We could do that as well. We could do that. A call-in. So if you guys want,
like an auction house.
We're gonna have a phone, just a dedicated. We'll just get a burner phone, right? We'll just call up. Here's the burner phone. Call through. And it works good when we've got the new TV set. I haven't shown like this room. This is like one of our, like this is just, we're in the office, right? This is like a real different sort of setup. So there's a table there. There's a lectern here. But look at that, right? That there is a wall of a digital whiteboard, right? And there's a ViewSonic board. If anyone's after where it came from, one of our viewers and one of our investors, Mark, said, look, I'm sick and tired of your whiteboards. Please keep up with the time. You see the ring light that shines on it and stuff like that. I've got a bigger one.
The halo of light.
I've got a bigger one than that that's going into the TV set. I've got my own TV studio podcast, so we can have patch things where we can do a weekly call-in show.
But I think marathons are great.
We'll start with a marathon. If you guys like it, maybe we can do a Facebook Live next time. You guys dial in. You tell us your problems. Tell us what you want. And maybe I can get a few of us to sit here and answer them from different angles. That could be fun. Never done that before, eh?
I think it's a really good, because it's very old school. We used to do it all the time. There used to be, Channel 10 marathons and stuff like that. And certainly, especially in this particular time, of mammoth uncertainties. There's no such thing as certain times. but where it's in an area whereby.
One thing I realised, right, not all our investors watch these videos, right? There might be referral, they may not be following us for 20 years or whatever. At our Christmas party, I had like maybe, I'd say 10%, right? I think that when we've got a room full of like a few hundred investors that are worth $1 million, $2 million, $3 million, $5 million, $10 million, $15 million each, that there's a lot of like knowledge in that room, right? But I still had like 10% of people that said, how's business going, Nathan? You're not impacted by a high interest rate, stuff like that, like a genuine concern, right? And I was like, no, like I've never been busier, right? And the market, but it's a perception, right? And we're talking highly educated people who had the question of, is the market bad? Like, are you doing okay, right? And I appreciate the love and care, but at the same time, I'm like, what is other people thinking out there, right? Like people aren't even aware that these moves are occurring, right?
But they
That
see this on
inflation-
television. It's always done. Media, ABC, Channel 10,
Yeah.
Channel 7 are constantly saying, and they're
Yeah.
always showing like this is the devastation that is caused by high interest rates on such and such a demography of people. And look, people are doing it. It is a serious thing.
Very tough.
And there is a huge demographic. The homeless and the housing situation in Australia is absolutely dire.
Yeah.
At the moment.
100%.
And especially when because there are clients, and this is one thing. We do have a client who's got a single mum's looking after kids. He could put his rents up, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But he's a good person.
Yeah.
And he won't do it because he wants to protect them. And I think there is that a really good element in that. And it's not killing him because he's got a great portfolio.
Yeah.
But I think we are very aware that there is a huge, housing crisis and a problem.
There's people doing it very tough, right? Very tough. The amount of businesses blowing up and stuff like that is insane, right? Liquidations this year. We talked about this, right? Just going back, right? Like we talked about, interest rates have gone up, and some people say, Birch, you said they weren't going to go up. I said that they couldn't go up. I didn't say they wouldn't. I said they couldn't go up. But they couldn't go up without it imploding, right? And we're seeing an implosion, and I'm happy for it, right? In certain aspects, not people getting hurt. But just to put it in perspective, right? If everybody on Main Street is getting hurt right now, right? We talked about the zombie companies beforehand. Like, I haven't even spoken about zombie companies, right? We've had massive amounts of companies that have been blowing up this year. I said I'm not invested into certain markets because paper asset market.
Shell.
Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of shell companies out there.
There's so many blown up companies, and there's massive companies that are blowing up, things in the stock market blowing up. And I think when we see the February 2020 that occurred next time, there's going to be brutal things that happen into 100-year-old companies that are out there, and the things
We're
change.
seeing that. We're seeing these huge changes, the likes of which we've never seen before.
Yeah, and the problem from the other side of this, it will be a corporocracy, where corporations are ruling, which they
Well, we've got that now.
They rule us now, like
They rule us
FBI book everyone's.
But I have a feeling that this is what's going to
Be a lot
this will
worse.
change. It's going to get worse, but it will change. You can't
Yeah.
you can't have a ruling like this that's going to go on indefinitely.
Yeah.
Sooner or later. Anyway.
Lisa said Dr. Birch or Nathan DeGeneres.
Exactly.
I think I'll stick with Dr. Birch.
Dr.
So,
Birch, I think
yeah.
you've got to share my doctorate with you, Nathan. I wouldn't be able to do it without you, Nathan. If I wasn't working full time.
Thank you,
I
Jeremy.
invested.
Thank you, Jeremy.
I wouldn't be able to do it.
Thank you, Jeremy. So
But
we'll
this
give
we
Jeremy
do
a
in
big hug for Jeremy here.
There he is, the man.
Thank you, Jeremy. Humbled. And we'll wrap that up because you got to go.
I you actually do have to meet someone.
Yeah, okay. No,
And,
let's do that. But thanks for everyone for
Interesting.
tuning in. And if you guys, I hope you guys got some value out of tonight. It's we always go on tangents. When Jeremy's in the room, it's like, fuck, we don't know where this is going to go. It's always fun.
And the good thing is, you know where the breaks are, because I could go into areas, but you
Yeah.
could too. But you've had more experience of being able
Yeah.
to. You don't understand filters. You
I have some
understand
filters.
better
I have
than
some
I do.
filters. I have
You've
some
got
filters.
some level of filtration, which
So, I have some filters. But
yeah.
some people think
I do too.
He does. Sometimes we need to, like, it's like if there's a a train, right? You need to put the station master. So let's
Or at least break the track. Just throw some derails quickly.
Yeah, we don't throw the bottle in here, right? It's on the train. But thank you, Jeremy,
My
for
pleasure,
spending
mate.
your Tuesday
No,
night
it was
here.
great fun.
Thanks for everyone for watching.
And we've got a
listening.
marathon coming up, so we'll
Let's do a
organise
telethon where we can do call in from you guys and something new. Let's try it out. Let's maybe we could. I don't know when we'll do it. Let's try it next fortnight.
Yeah, do that
from
where
now.
they take turns everyone does a few hours and then there goes the next one, then come
Yeah,
in.
we
and do
just
the- yeah.
you call in with your questions and yeah, we'll have fun with it. So yeah. Thanks a lot for watching, everyone. If you need help on building your portfolio, reach out to us. You know where to find us. If you need help or want second opinion, or you want someone to be by your side as we're walking through the apocalypse, we're here. You know where to find us. 1300 367 925. Hit us up with a DM, but there is a link in the description if you do want to meet up with Jeremy, or not meet up with him, but to have a discovery session, talk about, I hear Jeremy talk about some of the wildest conversations, right? Sometimes it starts about, a controversial topic of the last 3 years, and then it ends up in like, okay, cool, we need to,
Give me 100 points.
Yeah.
Give me your driver's license.
Give me your driver's license. But it's like, if you've got a position, you're like, hey, is this the right path I'm going on? Is there something I can tweak? Is there something I'm stuck with finance? Is there something I'm stuck with legal? Is it something I'm stuck with?
We've got a solution for every problem. There isn't
Yeah.
a single problem anyone goes through that we don't have some solution for you or point you in the direction.
Yeah. We literally have hundreds of staff. Like when you first started here, Jeremy, we had like an office. It was about 600 square meters, and we had like lots of empty spaces. We're trying to grow and stuff like that. We've got HRs, we've got in-house, we've got compliance, we've got like, we are national business. It's like we've got the people here to be able to help you on the journey. It's not
Absolutely.
just a solo journey.